Anyone who has paid attention to my channel must realize I like talking about movies directed by Alexander Payne. As I go through this little visit of the 8 major films he has directed, wait a minute. I have to say I find it hard to believe he has only directed 8 as of 2026, but yes, that is the count. So as I go through them, I'm going to go over some common attributes many of his films share. Film directors will have their motifs, and Payne's are no exception. His motifs stand out more than most, so while watching a Payne film, you're aware you're watching a Payne film, if you know these attributes. Commonalities in Payne films that I will get into include the following. I'll call this the Payne scale. Introspection. Commonly, one or more characters, always men, go through a process of becoming self-aware as the story develops. There will be a crisis in how they deal with said crisis. The situations are usually small in scale, meaning the outcome usually won't affect anybody outside of the circle of characters we're paying attention to. Nebraska. Many of Payne's films take place in Payne's home state of Nebraska. A few stay solely there, while some involve other states as well. Note that, with one exception, that being Downsizing, all Payne films take place entirely in the United States. Road trips. Most Payne films involve a physical journey. Most take place on the road, although there are 2 exceptions. The Descendants in the air and Downsizing in the water. Often the journey reflects a personal journey one or more of the characters are going through in their heads. Often the trip will be accompanied with strumming guitar music, which I would consider another Payne commonality. Restaurants. Payne likes to shoot scenes in restaurants. Relatable characters. Payne's characters are flawed people. They have emotional baggage and don't always say or do the right thing. His characters come off as everyday people with subtle complexities. They are rarely archetype characterizations, and by mid-movie we feel we understand them pretty well. Somber tone. These movies, while not being complete downers, focus on people's problems, big and small. These are not escapist films. Reality follows you into the story. Payne is an actor's director. Whether the actor is well known or not, expect greatness. Payne seems to know how to get the best out of his performers. All the actors are at the top of their game in his movies. Endings without full resolution. Most of the films here will leave us wondering about what happens next. This is a compliment and not a criticism. Most films seem to have to go through the full closure of the story, where Payne leaves it up to us to fill in the blanks at the end. And while I'm a big admirer of Payne's oeuvre, they are not all gems. I also realize this is all my opinion. Feel free to put your own opinions in the comments. There will be spoilers. Number 8. The Holdovers.
Do not cross the Rubicon. Alia jacta est.
I'm aware this film is highly regarded, and I've watched it many times trying to figure out why. I should point out that this is the one film on the list that I have not dedicated any analysis video. I have no intention of making a dedicated one, but I'll include a brief analysis here. All the other films on this list have a dedicated analysis, so just go to the channel to find them. Privilege and Guilt, a brief analysis of The Holdovers. Barton Boys Prep School is riddled with privileged rich brats who live obliviously to the working people around them. We see the faculty seeing themselves above the students, as is evident by how they are arranged during meal times. So there's a hierarchy here. Paul Hunnam, A teacher of ancient civilization is played by Paul Giamatti and ends up stuck with one of the students during the Christmas break. The student, Angus Telly, played by Dominic Sessa, is someone we first see as another privileged brat. Paul and Angus don't like each other, but as the story progresses, Paul and Angus learn about each other and develop an odd friendship, as they each realize the other has vulnerabilities. Mary Lamb, played by Divine Joy Randolph, is also there. She works the kitchen and is at the school over the holiday period by choice. Mary is mourning her recently lost son Curtis, who was killed in the Vietnam War. Mary serves as a ground between the two fiery personalities of Paul and Angus. Her grief is a continual reminder to Paul and Angus of how good they have it. This is especially poignant when you consider that Curtis went to Vietnam because he couldn't afford to go to college. In 1970, the Vietnam War loomed ahead for young men unable to go to or stay in school. Angus is having difficulty with the latter as he acts out due to frustration with his broken family. If he gets caught in one more major infraction, he will be sent to military school and likely Vietnam eventually. Angus is fearful and aware of this, and yet he continues to test Paul Hunnam's patience and tries to be troublesome. Paul also is a malcontent and openly challenges the authority of the headmaster who was once a student of his. Paul doesn't seem to like anyone he encounters with the exception of Mary. Do Paul and Angus have problems with guilt? They continually run into people less fortunate than them. Paul cowers when confronted by this guilt. Angus acts defiantly. This is a well-crafted film with excellent performances, and the snowy scenery is gorgeous. It just didn't engage me like other Payne films do. There just wasn't enough. Not enough to the story, not enough drama, not enough comedy. It just seemed bland. And could they possibly make Paul Hunnam more pathetic? He's out of shape with a misaligned eye condition, walleye. He also has a condition called trimethylaminuria, where he continually gives off a fish odor. He also notably has hemorrhoids, as the Preparation H tube early on reveals. None of these conditions really mean anything or contribute much to the story, other than I suppose they contribute to his constant crabby demeanor. This came out in 2023. Big effort. Okay results. Again, I'm aware that many will disagree with me on this one. How does it do on the Payne scale? Introspection. Definitely. Paul and Angus each examine their life's direction. Both are hard-headed, but they learn compromise and sacrifice by the end. Nebraska. Not this one. It takes place in very snowy Massachusetts. Road trip. Definitely. The three head out of the school in Paul's car. Paul and Angus spend some time in Boston. Restaurants. There's a notable bar and grill near the school where Paul and Angus talk. There's the bar at the bowling alley, and of course, the fascist Hash Foundry restaurant that was refusing to serve Cherry's Jubilee to Angus. Relatable characters? Sure. Even though some of the issues are 1970s problems, the characters go through mourning, self-esteem issues, guilt, and anguish. Somber tone. It's a winter film, and while pretty, isolation is a key theme here. Each character is an island, and no one is happy. Payne is an actor's director. Yes. We may not know the actors well, and even with my criticisms, the acting is terrific here. Ending without full resolution? Yes. We can only hope that Angus takes advantage of Paul's gift at the end. Will Paul become a successful writer now that he is no longer a teacher? Number 7. Downsizing.
Chef, You've got to stop inviting guests over without telling me.
Oh, sorry, Laura.
Yes, my two least favorite Payne films are his two most recent. This one is from 2017, and I think it's Payne's most flawed movie. I only rank it better than The Holdovers because I find the story more interesting. The visuals are pretty cool, and the concept of shrinking people to a few inches tall to save the planet, it was kind of fun. What is this movie? Is it science fiction? Is it comedy? Is it social commentary? Is it an environmental warning? Is it a romance? Is it introspection? Lost inside a large one? It seems to try to be all of these, but ends up being kind of a mess. Matt Damon plays the dullest lead in any Payne film. Kristen Wiig is the useless wife, and Hong Chow plays one of the most annoying characters I can remember. She ends up romantically involved with Damon's Paul Safranek, even though there was no chemistry between them. Christoph Waltz's Dusan is the only interesting character. Let's look at the Payne scale. Introspection? No. Payne gets large scale here. Okay, yeah, pun intended. As this film deals with worldwide problems and an attempted solution. Nebraska? Yes, for much of the first 2/3 anyways. Paul Safranek even works for Omaha Steaks. Road trip? There's two brief road trips out to the desert early on. Later, there's a trip to Norway. We only see the last phase of it where the characters are on a boat. Restaurants? There are a few notable scenes. Paul learns about downsizing with friends at a bar. He meets with friends who have downsized at a party in a restaurant. Paul and his wife Audrey are confronted by a drunk in a bar about how selfish downsizing is. Relatable characters? Not so much here. Everyone is uber bland. Payne oddly uses archetypal characters in this one. Somber tone? There's a little more fun and adventure in this one than the others, but some dark themes are shown, particularly the impoverished conditions some downsized people are living in. Payne is an actor's director. Not really in this one. No one's performance really stands out with the possible exception of Hong Chow's Nok Lan Tran and her obnoxiousness. Ending without full resolution. I guess so. Will the human race survive? Do we care? Let's get into the good films now. Number 6, Citizen Ruth.
But you're at the center of something really big now. It's not just about you anymore. It's more about the choice of millions of American women.
Oh, what I do now?
Well, this is just to show that I'm not doing this in reverse chronological order, because this is Payne's first major film. It came out in 1996 with Laura Dern playing the horrible Ruth Stoops, a degenerate and pregnant young woman who becomes a cause. The pro-choicers and pro-lifers fight over the fate of baby Tanya, with little to no thought of the mother. It's entertaining, especially how both sides of the fight are portrayed as crazy fanatics. It's certainly not Payne's best film, as the characters are a bit two-dimensional. Even though the laws and the way this fight is fought now are different than it was in 1996, this is still a topical movie and worth a watch. On the Payne scale, this one doesn't register very highly. Introspection? No. This is Payne's other film that deals with a large topic, that being abortion. Nebraska? Yes. The whole movie takes place in Nebraska. Road trip? Not in this one. Restaurants? Not here either. Relatable characters? Well, unless you're a fanatic regarding one or the other side of the abortion issue, no. And Ruth herself is just a bit too real, as she is an utterly selfish brat who can't stop huffing any chemical in a can or bottle she can find. Somber tone? Not so much here. Ruth lives a very unfortunate life, but we're not feeling sorry for her. The whole tone of the movie is pretty light. Payne is an actor's director. The characters are well portrayed, but there wasn't anything particularly noteworthy. Ending without full resolution. Yes, Ruth's ultimate miscarriage derailed the whole debate, and the movie just ends with Ruth walking away from the chaos with their stolen $15,000. Number 5, The Descendants.
They just told me she's not going to wake up. We know for sure now. The doctors are going to stop caring for her.
Matt King, played brilliantly by George Clooney, has to balance his career, his family's legacy, and the fact that he lives in Hawaii. This 2011 film takes place entirely in Hawaii, and we are constantly reminded of that from the cinematography, the people we see, and the language. After the wife and mother of 2 has an accident and is in a terminal coma, Matt has to suddenly become a father to his 2 daughters and finds it to be a struggle. The legacy of the King family is at stake, as well as Matt is in charge of finding a buyer for some very valuable land his family has owned for well over 100 years. The 2 daughters are completely convincing. They too have to grow and adjust to their new situation. Don't let the number 5 ranking fool you. This is a very good film. The Payne Scale. Introspection. Yes. It centers around a family crisis and how Matt has to learn how to be a good parent on the fly. Nebraska. Well, no. This one's in Hawaii. Road trip. Yes. The family island hops between Oahu, the Big Island, and Kauai. Restaurants? Oh yes. Matt and his younger daughter eat at the club, and the Tiki Hut is where they all go and listen to the band. Relatable characters? This movie should hit home to anybody raising children, especially daughters. This feels like a real family, flawed as it is. Somber tone? Yes. The entire story revolves around a dying matriarch. Payne is an actor's director. Definitely. This film features Clooney's best performance of all his movies, in my opinion. Ending without full resolution? There's more closure here than most, but we may find ourselves wondering if Matt King will find the right legal loopholes to hang on to his property for future generations. Number 4, About Schmidt.
If I am given a man's age, race, profession, place of residence, marital status, and medical history, I can calculate with great probability how long that man will live.
Jack Nicholson is Warren Schmidt, a down-to-earth, frustrated widower who is not sure what to do with his life at age 66. I mean, he really is Warren Schmidt. Schmidt is definitely not Jack Nicholson. There's nothing in Schmidt that is maniacal or overbearing. Nicholson never shows the Nicholson grin. He never delivers a cool and memorable one-liner. Schmidt is not cool at all. Anyone who ever thought that Jack Nicholson could only play characters like that need to see this movie to appreciate how broad an actor he can be. This film is an introspective look at a man trying to shout, "I'm here, I'm important." Kathy Bates is a bit outside of her normal kind of role here too. She's a hippie in her 60s, and she's great as well. Released in 2003, this is only the 3rd major film for Payne, and it seems that the die was cast from here on out. This is another little story that could kind of film that Payne excels at. Let's look at the Payne scale. Introspection? Definitely. It really is only about Schmidt and how he copes with retirement. Nebraska? Yes. There's a brief stopover in Kansas and Schmidt makes it out to Denver, Colorado, but Omaha is his home. Road trip? Yes. Schmidt travels to many places in this movie in his RV. Restaurants? Yes. There's the retirement dinner and the rehearsal dinner. Relatable characters? Regular middle-of-the-country type of people, at least in the eyes of the director. The family dynamics seem very realistic. Somber tone? Yes. Schmidt has led a pretty sad life, and the outlook isn't improving. Payne is an actor's director? Again, you've never seen Jack Nicholson or Kathy Bates in such roles. They're both great. Ending without full resolution? Well, we can guess things will never go so well with Schmidt after this. There are just too many things going against him. He lives alone, has no friends, has an alienated daughter who will likely live a miserable life with her loser husband. And now, the top 3. These are all excellent. For anyone initiating themselves or someone else into Alexander Payne films, I suggest you start with one of these. Number 3, Nebraska.
Hey there, Woody. Remember me? Bernie Bowen. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Well, that's what I hear.
In 2013, Alexander Payne went back to his home state after filming in California for Sideways and Hawaii for The Descendants. Nebraska is a tribute, maybe even a kind of love letter, as I can imagine people who grew up in rural America and eventually left would look back fondly upon their rustic beginnings. Like About Schmidt, Nebraska features an elderly man, Woody, played by Bruce Dern, looking for meaning and redemption. It's telling how an entire Nebraska town, Hawthorne, is abuzz over learning that Woody has won $1 million. It's probably the most exciting thing to happen there in many years. Bruce Dern stars as Woody, and he's amazing. June Squibb as his wife, along with Bob Odenkirk as the older son, are scornful of Woody and just see him as a crazy old man. Will Forte touchingly plays David, the son who sees his father as a human being. Here's the Payne scale. Introspection? Yes. David has to deal with his father's old age and his physical and mental decline. Nebraska? Well, obviously. Road trip? Yes. Woody and his son embark from Billings, Montana to Hawthorne and eventually Lincoln, Nebraska, to claim $1 million that Woody is convinced he had won. Restaurants? Yes. There are several taverns and a restaurant featuring karaoke. Relatable characters? Anybody who has had to deal with aging parents is going to relate in some way to this movie. Somber tone? Not as depressing as About Schmidt, but this is still not a happy film. Black and white cinematography gives the state of Nebraska a bleak quality. Payne is an actor's director. Yes. June Squibb is awesome in this. Ending without full resolution? Again, like About Schmidt, Woody's best days are behind him, depressing as that may be. But we don't know how long or well he will remember of the kindness his son David had shown him. Number 2, election.
We all know it doesn't matter who gets elected president of Carver. Do you really think it's going to change anything around here? Make one single person smarter, or happier, or nicer?
Did Ferris Bueller grow up and become a button-down high school teacher? This was notably released in 1999, shortly after the Clinton impeachment. Election is about an election in a typical high school, but the underlying treachery betray a broader reach than that. Reese Witherspoon plays Tracy Flick, a version of the student everyone loves to hate. She projects a bright, ambitious, and innocent persona, but we know better. Matthew Broderick plays Jim McAllister, the teacher trying to knock her down a peg or two while having to deal with issues at home at the same time. Just about everybody in this film has dirty hands. This is a unique film among Payne's works in that it uses narration by most of the characters, giving us insight into their thoughts, but not necessarily the truth. Here's the Payne scale. Introspection? No. Jim stays who he is. As I stated earlier, this is a commentary about all elections and politicians, so this one does not fit that criteria. Nebraska? Yes. With just a brief bit at the end taking place in New York and Washington, D.C. Road trip? Not here. Restaurants? Yes. There's a flashback of Tracy getting propositioned by a teacher. It happens in a restaurant. Jim eats alone in a restaurant after the election. Relatable characters. There's some typical teenage behavior, but in this one the characters seem to be stand-in approximations for real politicians. Somber tone? No. This one's rather light, especially for a Payne film. Payne is an actor's director. Reese Witherspoon shines in a career-starting role. Ending without full resolution? It's well resolved. Jim will continue to live his dull life while Tracy will finesse her way into getting everything she wants. And finally, number 1, Sideways.
I had to call and tell you again how much I enjoyed our time together and how sorry I am that things turned out the way they did.
2004's Sideways is a romantic comedy from a male perspective. Any man who has ever experienced self-doubt, awkwardness when dealing with women, or dealing with another adult male who still behaves like an adolescent, is going to relate with Miles. Miles is played by Paul Giamatti, and he goes through the physical and personal journey with a companion whom he no longer really likes. Yes, Giamatti is at both ends of this list. He's kind of a loser in both The Holdovers and Sideways, but he's much more sympathetic, likable, and fleshed out in Sideways. The bright sunshine of California is very different than the dreary Nebraska landscapes we usually see in Payne films. There's a sense of fun as Miles and Jack, played by Thomas Hayden Church, are on a sort of romantic adventure in wine country. The gorgeous landscapes, the perfect dialogue, and the intriguing and complex relationships between each of the characters make this an absolute classic. The Payne scale. Introspection. Yes. 2 middle-aged men with different personalities each goes through a personal journey. Nebraska? Definitely not. We're in sunny California. Road trip? The whole movie is a road trip. Restaurants? Plenty. Almost every scene seems to have our characters eating or drinking. Many restaurants are in this one. Relatable characters. The women are symbolic. One is a typical young single mom, while the other is a worthy find. But the 2 men are very real. Somber tone? Only with Miles. He is somber throughout the film, but the others are not, and the surrounding landscapes are bright and cheerful. Payne is an actor's director. I think Paul Giamatti and Virginia Madsen should have both won Oscars. Ending without full resolution? Jack's future is easy to see, but it's tough to figure out what will happen to Miles and if he will really prove himself worthy of Maya.
Anyway, like I said, I really loved your novel. Don't give up, Miles. Keep writing. I hope you're well. Bye.